name is Dr. Kenyon Williams. I'm Professor of Percussion at Minnesota State University Moorhead. Moorhead, Minnesota is right next door to Fargo, North Dakota, a location where the weather regularly drops below 0 degrees for quite a few weeks during the year. A few years ago, I was watching online, I saw some videos of people playing on ice percussion instruments. Well, not really ice percussion instruments, as much as they were playing on shards of ice on a lake. A few months later, I went to the Percussive Art Society International Convention, where I attended a session where I saw people discussing the idea of creating unique percussion events using outdoor spectacles, aka video projections, outdoor locations, and the idea sprang, why not I use ice percussion instruments at the Fargo Frostival? Fargo has a unique event where we celebrate the outdoors and encourage people to come outside, do things like snow yoga, 5K run, things like this. And I thought the idea of creating ice percussion would be a unique way to do it. So I decided to merge these ideas and create my own ice percussion. Now, the first problem I discovered is that in order to create ice percussion, you have to have, and here's the big secret, really solid ice. Solid ice does not form naturally. My first experiment was simply take an igloo container, put the ice outside, wait a few days and see what happened. Of course, that first large chunk of ice broke immediately upon the first time I tapped it with a mallet. At this point, well, I knew I had to do something different, so I began browsing the web. I began looking especially at, unusually enough, bartender websites. Bartenders often are asked to create very clear crystal ice for their specialized drinks. So, following some directions, I then created my own unique method for making my own cheap ice. Now, some of you may ask right off the bat, why didn't I just get my own ice made from an ice manufacturer in the area? The answer being, I simply couldn't find a manufacturer in the area who was willing or able to sell me ice big enough to carve up what I needed to make. Without making a major investment and having some ice shipped in from a large city nearby, I knew I'd have to make my own. So here's how I did it. First thing I did is I simply took an igloo container like this from Walmart, nothing terribly fancy. Then, notice what I did is I had to cut off the bottom. As you can see, I use this tool right here, a little reciprocating blade tool, to cut off the plastic, and then that allowed me to scrape off the insulation on the bottom. Now, secret number one, to make great ice, the ice has to freeze from the bottom up. Naturally, ice freezes from the top down, where it's exposed to the air. But by keeping the insulation on top and allowing it to freeze from the bottom up, the ice expels the bubbles that normally weaken the ice as it gradually goes up. Now, that's secret number one. Secret number two is you have to keep the ice, or the water, excuse me, circulating at all times while it's freezing. So I went to a local chain supply store for pets, and I simply bought this. This is a water circulating pump, submersible pump for a fish tank. As you can see, it has suction cups on it that actually hold very well even while the water's freezing. And if you come over here, you can see that I simply place this right near the top, push it down solid, and then fill up the container with water right up till it completely submerges the pump. As you can see, I then cut a little extra hole right here and plug this in outside. You can also tell that I added extra insulation here to make sure that the water, once again, froze from the bottom up, not from the top down. Now, by keeping the water circulating, that water is circulating and the bubbles, once again, are continuously being pushed to the top to give me the strongest ice possible. Then, simply put it in there, and notice one last little trick. I have wood slats for me to put this on. That allows the air to continue to circulate underneath, again, freezing from the bottom up, and giving me the best chance I can to make some nice solid ice. So, I'm gonna put some water in here, we're gonna put the pump in, wait a few days, and see what happens. Okay, the snow's been falling pretty steadily overnight, and my ice has been sitting outside, freezing, doing its thing for about 72 hours now. In 3 days, in sub-zero weather, 3 days is pretty much all it takes for me to get a good batch out of this size container. I'm gonna pop it open. Let's see what we have here so far. Yeah, now right now, this doesn't look all the way full. That's what I bring this ruler out for. Take this ruler, and right there, hard to see, I'm actually hitting solid ice at that point. It's so crystal clear, you literally can't tell that the ice is down there without shoving something onto it. So I have about 4 inches of clear water on top and about 7 to 8 inches of solid crystal clear ice on the bottom. So we put it over here on the sink. I'm gonna put this on with a little bit of as hot water as I can get. I'm just going to barely brush the bottom of the container. Now as I do this, you hear a little bit of cracking, a little bit of popping underneath there. That's the plastic coming off the ice. I'm going to do this all the way around the bottom and the side for about a minute or so, not very long at all. And then I'm going to show you how to take it out. Put it down here on the floor. And notice I put it above a soft springy mat, so when I turn it upside down, once I hit it, yeah, it's already starting to get loose. I can really feel it coming out. So let's lift it up and see what we got. Woo! Here it is. Nice, thick chunk of crystal clear ice ready to carve up. All right, well, I've got about a week out from the performance, so it's time for me to go ahead and get started cutting up the ice, turning it into something I can actually use to perform on. A couple of things to be aware of. First off, before you do this, you need to have some basic safety gear. Of course, eye protection, ear protection, and most of the cutting I'm going to be using this, an electric chainsaw. Now, for safety, make sure this is plugged into a GFCI outlet so you don't get shocked. And of course, make sure you have the basic skills to use a chainsaw. You've never used one before. You definitely want to take your time, go slow, go carefully. These things can be very dangerous, of course, but the nice thing with ice is it tends to cut pretty smooth with very little kickback, so it goes pretty easy. Notice I'm using a very small chainsaw. It allows me to get a little bit more detail and move a little bit more slowly. All right, let's see what we got. Take this. Yeah. See, I got a nice piece right here. Now, this I can then take and I can use it as its own piece, or I could cut it in half and make it into two more regular sized bars. But right now, I'm taking everything and making just large cuts. Later on, when I feel like I know exactly what I want in terms of proportion for the three of us in my trio, how many bars total we're each gonna need, I might cut some of these down, I might leave some of them large. In this case, I've kind of pre-cut these as my kind of ice marimba bars, as you can see. So once again, if I want to test what I got, see how I'm doing so far, I can simply take this, pop a few on top, and so I got a couple pitches here, but as you can see right now, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to drill my holes. I'm going to drill 2 holes here for my bell plate. Boom, right through, real easy. Very fast, very simple. Now, I'll take my nylon cord here, string that through, make it a nice big loop, and then it'll be able to suspend it as something that can be an audience can really enjoy, and also I'll be able to play on as the evening goes forward. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to store them very simply. Take some non-stick parchment paper, your typical baking paper you get at your grocery store. Take this. Wrap them up just like I would, I'm going to start with the thicker one here because I don't want to break that thin one. Wrap them up just like I would if I were transporting marimba bars. I'm using this to keep them from falling and re-sticking together. And if you come on around here, you can see that I'm putting them all inside this igloo container, which I will then transport to the gig. And I'm not going to worry about stringing this year, I think. I'm just going to put them directly on the foam. As you can see, it's holding awfully well. The day of the performance is actually going to be about 19 degrees. So it should be plenty cold enough, not where it's melting and going to be slipping, sliding everywhere. So I think it should be fine.
It's a great shot.
Now it's a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fine.